Hello, everybody. I am working hard, and as you can see, we're getting some progress made on this husky here. The one thing I've really been working on, you can see, is I've been working up here, and that is because there's so much black in it. So I kind of gotta work on the blacks, so that way when I get the blacks done, I'll know how dark I need to go in other areas like the face and his paws. So, but give me a minute here. Let's finish this part up here, and then I'll give you a look at what the whole thing looks like. So, but in the meantime, we can see that, let's see, we are at days 26 through 32 of signed comics. And day 26 was Blaze of Glory, The Last Ride. This was like a Magnificent Seven comic. It was Marvel, and they took all of their Western heroes and just did a pulpy Western book. Uh, Jerry Ostrander, he is the one who wrote it, who's the one who signed the book. This one, the artist, see, I'm even though you look at it and go, that's not a style you like, Vaughn. Let's take a brief moment here. You can see where I'm going to work up here, and see how I started working down here. Remember how this was just like an outline like up here. I started working on it, putting in the highlight area here, and you can just see working around. And then here's where I'm going in with a different nib, which is much stiffer. Even though it's a 102, it's a brand new, so it's really stiff. And I'm putting in these really fine dots here for his paw. I'll be doing that here. I'll be doing that over here. I'll be doing that with the face with this very fine small dot. So, but let's keep working over here. And I'm working on this area here because for you guys, I've held off working on other air on inking this because I wanted you guys to see how I was inking it, and it gives you something more entertaining to look at than just like working on that for like the 15-minute video. So, but okay, so I yeah, I you would look at this western and it was gritty and a lot of textures, and the artist, he inked himself. I forget the artist's name. He didn't do a whole lot. He did like, other than this book, he did a couple one-off issues, and then he did covers. But he goes all out when he inks. In fact, if you look at his stuff carefully, you can see where his he's actually using his fingers to ink, and you can see his like fingerprints in the ink, which you don't really see a whole lot of these days, although you should. So that was really cool, and so I had the opportunity for John to sign it. So that's one of the books I had him actually sign all 4 issues of this series. So, and then let's see, let's change the angle. Okay, and then after that, we hit day 27, which was Badger issue 27. Badger issue 27 on day 27. I didn't realize I did that. Cool. So this was signed by Mark Nelson. If anybody who watches Aaron live on Sundays, Aaron has had Mark Nelson on his show. So, and that's actually one of the from being on Aaron's show. It's how he showed up on my radar. And when I saw that he was going to be at Heroes Con this last year, this was the one book that I wanted him to sign. One of the books I wanted him to sign. So I was very happy to have him sign it. I always liked the Badger. The Badger character, I like it because it was like, well, yeah. First, let's go back. This was during when Wolverine was really hot, and so he was. So as a kid, you wanted to create your own Wolverine character. And one of the names I looked at, like, what is Wolverine? And like, what animals are similar to Wolverine? Badger's one of them. And so when I came across this comic book, I started picking it up, and it was kind of cool because I was like, he's an insane person, but he knows martial arts, and he has a really wacky way of how he views things from everybody else. So let's go down here. So let's keep going here. So give me here. I gotta take a look at this. Oh, I see. Okay, I see how it is. I'm looking at my reference material. So let's just go in slowly here. But no, so I that's one of the reasons why I had him sign this book. Was because I don't have too many Badgers that comic book signed, so the opportunity to get him to sign it was cool. So, and then after Badger was Breakthrough. I got it signed mainly because George Perez had done the pencils on it, and I was a big George Perez fan. This is the first time I picked up any of those books from the Malibu universe, and so it actually was. And this is where I was like, when you're starting your own company with various titles, it's always good to have an event comic to get people to buy the book that normally haven't bought any of those books to introduce you to these characters, and hopefully then afterwards you will have people picking up maybe not all the titles, maybe some of the titles. They like some of the characters. And of course, George was stellar in his layouts. This was signed by Steve Englehart. Steve Englehart was not actually the writer on this. He is listed as a contributor. That was, again, it was smart about the way they did it because they wanted to make certain that everybody who is working on their books, that I guess that their characters are being portrayed the way they're writing them in the book, and store with the story of the overall stories the characters were going through in their individual books. So he's listed as a contributor. So I was like, chance to get a George Perez book signed and listed as a contributor, I'll take it. So that's why I had Steve Englehart sign this specific issue of Breakthrough over any other books that he's done. Because I mean, he's one of those writers. He's written so many good books for Marvel. So it's like, why did you have him? You could have had him sign a Fantastic Four issue, or you could have had him sign this issue or that issue that he did for Marvel. Why? Because George Perez. Do we need to go any further? It has George Perez's work. So, but that's the reason why I had that one signed. So, and then after that, we go into the C's, and we go back to DC Comics, and the first one I had signed was the Canterbury Cricket, signed by Rags Morales. I know everybody's kind of like, the who, the what, the where, the when. This was a one-off book uh, for when they did the Flashpoint. Now, I don't like the Flashpoint series. I thought it was a horrible mistake to do Flashpoint to revamp as a means to revamp the DC universe. If I spoke to Dan Didio, I would tell him that. I thought it was a horrible thing to do, and I thought they could have done so many other things that were so much better. But hey, um, so I got this one signed because I liked the story. It was like you didn't need to know anything about all the characters. You didn't have to know about the history of any of the Canterbury Cricket. It was just one-off series. Gave you some like altered versions of different characters, but overall it was just this Canterbury Cricket and this guy. I mean, kind of like I don't know. He's a cricket. And I found it entertaining, and I found this to be more entertaining than when Rags then went on to do Action Comics with Superman. I found this to be much more enjoyable. So, in fact, Rags is actually going to be up in Penn State area, Happy Valley, for a show in the beginning of March, and he will be there. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to have him sign any of those Action Comics issues they did. I'll have him sign something else. So, and I've got my ideas of what I want him to sign. I haven't figured out yet what exactly, but it will be a. It won't be Action Comics, and I'll be happy that I have my Canterbury Cricket already signed. So, just very good artwork, and also one thing that's always great about Rags is he was one of the last artists to really, and I mean really, understand how to use Zipatone. And he used it beautifully. He was a master at how to incorporate Zipatone into his work. So, and then after that, we had uh, Captain Adam #1. Okay, this one is significant to me because it's actually one of the very first books I ever had signed. Had Pat Broderick sign it in uh, 91, 1991, and it was he was at a show, a local show, and local comic book shows back then was basically you go into a ballroom, it's got a bunch of dealers, you just walk around from dealer to dealer and buy books. This promoter was doing something different. He was trying to get, he was like, what he'd do is he'd uh, invite the artist, and then I've overheard the promoter saying what he'll do is he will invite the artist, and then what he'll do is he'll like buy some pages of the artist's work, and that's how he got them to go to his show. But I mean, for the Central PA area, it was unheard of for a comic book artist to be at a show. So so it was cool, and that's like so, and so that I had him sign this issue, and I had him sign Doom 2099. So for me, it's one of like that. This is like one of the very first books I ever had that was signed by a comic book creator. So when I was going through my C's and I saw that, I'm like, oh, I it, I have to have it. I have to show this one. This is one I have to have included in the signed issues. So fun. And then after that was Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew, signed by Scott Shaw and signed by Jerry Ordway. If you look at this issue, there's one panel, okay, and it's not even a full panel; it's like quarter of a panel is drawn by Jerry Ordway, and it is of the Justice Society. And here, what it was a joke how the Justice Society is like, we know we got to do our annual crossovers, but this is taking it too far. And so I had Jerry sign it. Now, here's the thing. When I had Jerry sign this, he laughed and he said how when they do reprints of Captain Carrot, he still gets royalties just because of that one panel. And they'll send him comps. If they do an omnibus, remember how they do the, I think it was Showcase for a while there, and it was basically, it was on, the paper was like construction paper, and it was like black and white artwork, and they do those of different of books, and they did one of Captain Carrot Amazing Zoo Crew. They sent Jerry comps just because of that quarter of a panel they drew. So I find that very humorous. Another thing that I started a dialogue with people commenting on this issue that I had posted, and the one person I can't remember exactly who. They're like how like yeah I really like these when I stories behind them when you meet them. And here's another cool story. Jerry's Ordway daughter, his daughter Rachel, when she was little, okay, when they were doing like the uh, when they did the Justice League Unlimited. First was the Justice League, then it was Justice League Limited. Even back then, when they started that, uh, Jerry had equity in characters, specifically the Infinity Incorporated characters. Well, back then, they didn't just notify them, hey, your character is being used in this cartoon. They didn't do that. What Jerry's daughter, her job as a little girl, her job was to watch each episode of the was to watch each episode of Justice League Unlimited, and she had to watch. And if one of Daddy's characters was on screen, her job was to write down the character, and I guess through a TV guide or whatnot, they knew which episode it was, um, or what the air date was. And then Jerry would have to contact DC and let them know, hey, on the episode that aired on this date, it has these, and he'd list all the characters off, and then they would make certain that when he got his equity check for multimedia for like characters on TV or whatnot, that he would get paid for it. So I always found that entertaining how his daughter's job as a little girl was to watch cartoons and tell Daddy when his characters showed up on the TV screen. So imagine being a little kid and that was your job. That would have been so cool. So, but yeah, I found that to be very entertaining. Just as Jerry was telling me the story about how DC takes care of him uh, with reprints and omnibuses of Captain Carrot, even though it's just 1/4 of a panel. So, but and then of course we have, uh, lastly, we have day 32, and that is Cinder and Ash, issue number 4 by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. This is a great. If you ever want if you ever going through the dollar bins at a show or at your local store, and you see Cinder and Ash in the dollar boxes or whatnot, grab a copy. Okay, the artwork is phenomenal. The storytelling is great, and it's Jose at his best. Okay, a lot of this is I actually put this book higher than his work on Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Uh, he does such a great job with how he draws people. He doesn't have to worry about superhero powers or anything. He's just drawing people in action, and just the gesture drawings alone, the form, the people is just extraordinary. If you ever have the chance to get copies of this book, get it. You will not be disappointed. So, okay, I'm almost at the end here. Just I'll stick around with you guys long enough to you guys to see this part here. So, but those are the books that I have so far. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna, like a week 1, week 2. I think I'm gonna start titling these as like week 5, week 8, whatever it is, and we'll go forward announcing it that way instead of saying days 22. I'll probably still say day 22 through 32, but I'll say week whatever it is. So, but and of course, always let me know in the comments if you have questions about a further question about why I had certain books signed, or anything involving why I'm posting these, whether you agree or disagree, if I'm leaving facts out about them, or if I'm wrong about something about these characters or these issues. Let me know in the comments. But always remember, like, subscribe, uh, help me out, guys. But I hope you're enjoying this. I'm gonna have fun with this piece. But as always, just take life one dot at a time.